good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. Welcome to today's webinar. We are glad to have you with us. The premise of today's session is simple but powerful. More and more customers want to run Cloudera on OpenShift to harness the strengths of enterprise-grade data analytics, along with the agility and scalability of OpenShift. To walk us through this architecture and what it means in practice, I'd like to invite Firas from Red Hat. Firas, over to you. Please introduce yourself and the rest of the speakers.
Thank you very much, Anurag. Appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone's time today that's attending our webinar. So as Anurag said, my name is Faris Yassin. I'm the Global Alliance Manager here at Red Hat, managing the global alliances between Red Hat and Cloudera. And joined with me is Patrick Farley, who's the Global Solution Architect on the Red Hat side that looks after Cloudera and Red Hat partnership. On the other side of the aisle, I have Anshul Gupta, who's also the global architect for Cloudera and the Cloudera side that looks after the relationship from Cloudera's point of view. So we have a wealth of knowledge that we want to share with you today, and then we're gonna talk about how our two companies have gotten together. We'll have a little bit of an overview about OpenShift, and very quickly we're gonna go and run into what Cloudera Data Platform is and how it runs in OpenShift. Follow that by a demo, and then we'll come back with a customer story that we've had that's very close and dear to our heart, and then we'll have a few action items for you after the call. So with that, I wanted to talk about how Red Hat and Cloudera has come together. As you know, Cloudera or Red Hat is all about open source technology. We love open source. This is what we thrive for. And a lot of our subscriptions that you see, you love and hear, all of them are in the open source community, and then we bring in them, we harden them, and get them back to you as a customer of ours. Cloudera is the same thing. They are committed to open source as well. They were allowed to streamline the simplicity of data. They wanted people to have access to the data. They call it democratization of data, Cloudera's terms. And with coupling that with the open source community, this is where we can thrive to get innovation into both of our offerings and bring it over to you to give you the best out of it. So as you can see from, we both have things to offer within our respective products. With Cloudera, you have the ability to have a full management of the data lifecycle from edge to AI. That has a powerful engine that's capable of managing exabyte of data. So that's a huge scale of data that it can manage while using object storage built and powered by the open source Apache Ozone that delivers insights to you about your data. Now, on the other hand, OpenShift gives you the self-managed platform that you can deploy applications much faster and develop those applications through the DevSecOps model, which reduces your downtime and optimizes the infrastructure. Now, coupling those together is between Cloudera Data Platform on OpenShift, and we have the capability of workload isolation for guaranteed performance for you that auto scales and expands data you're processing, which gives you a future-proof modern data architecture that's ready for the hybrid cloud, as you will see time and time again. Now, one of the key aspects that Cloudera CDP delivers for you is the ability that it empowers every employee within your organization to have access to that data and drive value from it, because they will be able to use it through a very customized UI that's easy to use, easy to follow, no matter what type of data they're looking at. And it gives you the ability to create enterprise custom environment that keeps control of the data. So you're able to control your data from security attacks. You'll be able to keep it from being vulnerable and so forth. And it gives you unlimited scalability of that data. Now, all of this is delivered through consistent experience for practitioners and developers alike. Now, once you put that on top of OpenShift, you get magnificent return of your investment that you can see with the ability to have security and compliance within your data. So you are able to apply many, many security models. The cluster would be governed easily through the advanced cluster manager that we have, where you would be able to apply the same policies across multiple clusters. And of course, the scalability and performance that we talked about, you're able to scale your platform without having really to do anything. It'll automatically scale on top of OpenShift. All of that through easy manageability, where you can manage it through the ACS from one dashboard that shows you everything that's happening across all your clusters. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, so he will walk us through some of the capabilities of OpenShift, and then Anshul's going to come on and talk about CDP and show us a demo, and then I'll come back to you and talk to you about a couple of things and a couple of the customer stories that we have and things for you to do afterwards. So Patrick, I hand it over to you.
Thanks, Ferris. As many of you may know, Red Hat's business model, we work entirely in the open source. We take community open source projects. Everything we do is open source. There's no forks, there's no rebases. We're working towards creating this trusted enterprise product that you can stand behind. You know, Red Hat's there to provide continuous security, world-class support, providing you with all the necessary tools to manage the life cycle of your containers, and have a platform that's really easy to use and consume. You know, you don't have to focus on the platform. You know, Red Hat's done all the hard work for you. You can just concentrate on your business and knowing, you know, have that peace of mind that Red Hat's behind there to provide you with a world-class product, that you have all the necessary security patches, attention to that, having all the tools to manage, so that really your developers, they could just focus on developing. They don't have to worry about all that interoperability testing to make sure that all those pieces and parts, you know, all the many moving parts in Kubernetes, making sure that it all work together. And Red Hat does that for you. And you can really run it almost anywhere, so that you do have this consistent experience no matter where you run OpenShift. And again, you've got all the tools that you need to consume it and really make use of it as a world-class enterprise-grade application platform that provides you that consistency no matter where you run it. Now, the way that you can actually make use of OpenShift, this slide shows really the many or the various subscription levels that you can utilize within OpenShift. On the left side there, you see the different levels from the base level OpenShift Kubernetes engine that provides really the base platform and some of its capabilities. On top of that, we've got the OpenShift container platform, which provides on top of that base container platform, it provides additional developer tools to make managing the life cycle of your containers and doing your development work all as simple as possible. And then on top of that, we've got OpenShift Platform Plus, which provides some additional Red Hat products to really make it easier to manage and consume containers across your entire environment, whether that's your multiple clusters, because it seems like OpenShift and Kubernetes clusters, there's always seems to be very many of those. So to have the multi-cluster management, which across the top here, you see the different products that are provided within this OpenShift Platform Plus level. Advanced cluster management for Kubernetes provides this multi-cluster management capability, really to give you that consistency across your entire fleet. So that's from observability tools, the ability to have policies applied across your clusters, so you've got consistency, and you can also enforce compliance to those policies and have kind of the peace of mind that you've got things pretty consistent across there. In addition, you've got cluster security provided by Red Hat Advanced Cluster Security. This provides some additional detail to the security aspect so that you can have vulnerability and patch management, as well as threat response and so forth. Now, having a global registry is also important, and that's provided by Red Hat Quay or Key, however you pronounce it where you are. And this has this a common global registry that you can utilize, and it also has some attention to security as well, such as being able to scan container images for vulnerabilities, and having it, of course, replicated and available across your environment. And then lastly, towards the right there, OpenShift Data Foundation. This is a scalable software-defined storage to provide persistent storage for your OpenShift clusters. And this provides file, block, and object storage, as well as the necessary replication and performance and reliability across that as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to Anshul next to talk a bit about the Cloudera parts.
Thank you, Patrick. What a great overview of Red Hat OpenShift. I understand that some of the folks on the call might not be aware of what Cloudera does, what Cloudera is, what is the power of the platform. So we thought it's going to be a good idea to just walk through the platform a bit, and then we'll talk about how Cloudera and OCP are better together, along with a short demo. So Cloudera, for those of you who don't know, we have about 25 plus exabytes of data under management, conservatively speaking. That's a lot of data. And the company is about $1 billion in revenue. And then we traditionally have targeted global top 2,000 customers. So that's our major customer base. Now, what does the platform do in a nutshell? So in a nutshell, it is designed to handle various stages of data lifecycle, all the way from ingestion to making sense of the data through analytics and performing AI workloads on top of those data sets. Data has gravity. So once you have access to clean data, which is closer to compute, it just makes it easier for AI workloads to make use of that enterprise data. Now, a couple of key highlights here. Hybrid infrastructure is a very important part of Cloudera. We have the same user experience across different infrastructure components, whether you're on any one of the hyperscalers like AWS, Google, or Azure, or on premises. From the learning curve perspective, it's just not going to be any different. It's the same experience regardless of where the platform is deployed. Unified data fabric, it's one of the core components of modern data architectures, where you have automated data cataloging, because you have lots of data within your platform, and then you would want to make sure you're able to catalog the data effectively to be used by business owners, domain experts, and so on. Then SDX is essentially our security and governance layer, which also includes automated lineages and metadata control specific to Cloudera services, observability of the engines that you're using to perform the workloads, and essentially think of it in a way that if something goes wrong in production, you know where the problem is, and then you're just spending time in resolving the problem as opposed to finding the problem. Replication manager which helps you move the data across clouds or from on-premise to clouds and back and so on. So then it kind of gives you the flexibility to run your workloads where you want. So you're not restricted to any limited environments. Open Data Lakehouse is another core concept of modern data architectures. It is actually powered by Apache Iceberg. So back in the day, you would hear about these big data file formats like ORC, Parquet, Avro, and so on. Iceberg is the open table format, which has been quite popular. And for any enterprise to handle large volume of data, or for any enterprise that's kind of going through data modernization strategy, Iceberg is something that they consider, that they use, they want to implement, just because of the performance and then the low TCO over the period of time. Now, as I said earlier, the platform, and I'm going to show the whole data analytics and AI pipeline in just a bit, and then talk about the specific technologies that actually power the platform. But this is kind of a generic way for you to understand that, if you have use cases like in data ingestion, whether in batch mode or streaming mode, whether you have use cases to transform the data using Spark, or orchestrate the data pipelines using Airflow, or serving the data through operation databases, or query the data warehouses. This platform can solve a lot if you are in the data analytics org. Now, enterprise AI applications. Since the platform stores your enterprise-grade data, it is very critical for us to have AI capabilities. So in considering that, we have AI Workbench and AI Inference Service. AI Workbench is essentially where you would go and create your own models. We are not a model repository, but we integrate with somebody like Hugging Face and a bunch of other repositories, so you can make use of those models. Plus, you can also write your own models, do experimentation with them, train them, and then finally productionize them in, operationalize them in production. For model serving, we use AI Inference Service, which is, of course, backed by NVIDIA GPUs. So once your models are ready, you can deploy them in the AI Inference Service and make use of them either within the platform or outside the platform. So all the models that are hosted by Cloudera don't have to be limited, within the platform. They can be used externally as well. All right. Next slide. So why is this important? So we talked about adopting modern data architectures, moving to hybrid infrastructure, deploying enterprise AI. That's just because where the industry is heading. Right? So 93% of the enterprises, they're looking to move to hybrid and cloud. Like, they don't want to be restricted to one cloud provider. They don't want to be restricted to one kind of infrastructure. Like, they want flexibility. So today, let's say you're on-premise, tomorrow you want to go to AWS, day after you want to go to Azure, you should be able to move the workloads freely without making a lot of changes. Adopting modern data architectures, such as unified data fabric, open data lakehouse, those are some of the core concepts that are extremely, extremely important especially if you're dealing with a large volume of data. Deploying enterprise AI, that is just not a myth anymore. It's a fact. Cloudera has a number of use cases, which Feras will cover towards the end of the presentation. Cloudera has AI workloads running in production for several enterprises. And again, like, data attracts these AI workloads, and sooner rather than later, a majority of the enterprises are going to have some kind of AI workloads in their systems. Right? Now, of course, I mentioned before that our major customers are global top 2,000 companies. And then you can see some of the big names here in financial services and insurance, manufacturing, public sector, etc. And it's just not, and the platform, these companies are really using the platform to power their high value use cases. For example, if we take example of financial services, real-time global fraud detection is one of the most common use case, and we see so many examples of this use case at various customers. And then you need a very complicated pipeline to do fraud detection in real time. And believe it or not, Cloudera has the support for those technologies that you would need to build an end-to-end pipeline to detect fraud. Then next gen AI for customer service. Feras is going to talk about an example, a real-world example where a bank implemented a Gen AI solution to handle customer service queries, and that implementation is actually handling millions of queries per day to handle users' queries. Credit risk modeling, and then there are of course a bunch of other use cases within financial services that are powered by Cloudera. Now, know that, of course, Cloudera was just like, Red Hat and OCP, they are vertical agnostic. But then, depending on the services that they want to use, you can essentially fit them into any verticals. Now, I know I'm saying a lot, mentioning a lot of technologies and so on, but if you have to remember a few things from this presentation, from the Cloudera presentation, It's going to be enterprise AI, true hybrid cloud, open data lakehouse, unified data fabric, and data in motion. Right? I'll come to that in a second, but let me talk about this real quick. So since I'm talking about Cloudera, these are some of the frameworks that we support. Just like Red Hat, or similar to Red Hat, we support over 34 open source projects in various stages. So for streaming and data flow, we have NiFi, Kafka, and Flink. So NiFi is a low-code tool that will let you ingest the data. It's part of our data in motion products. Kafka is a streaming product. Flink is a stream processing product that is very commonly used in the fraud detection use case because it lets you, run algorithms in real time on top of the data that is coming in. Then for data engineering, we have Spark, which is extremely well known in doing data transformations. Plus, you have support for, of course, Flink and Airflow, which is the orchestration tool that will sort of glue your pipeline, end-to-end pipeline. Then you have data warehouse for storing the data. This is essentially where Iceberg comes into play. You have Hive and Iceberg, two SQL engines, and Spark and Flink and a bunch of others that actually support Iceberg. So you're able to go in, run queries, or connect these warehouses to your reports like Power BI and Tableau, and then get insights from them. Then operation databases, which is mainly HBase, which is very well known when it comes to serving the member-facing applications or managing transactions in real time. And then the whole Cloudera AI module where you're able to work with the models and then serve the models as well. I think I spoke enough about the Cloudera security and governance layer, so I'll skip that part. But just know, again, we have strong support for hybrid infrastructure. Right? Coming to deployment models or deployment patterns that Cloudera offers. So the first one is Cloudera on Cloud, which is platform as a service. This is the form factor that I would essentially use if you want to use one of the hyperscalers. It's the same Cloudera runtime. The release is called 7.3.1 if you're interested. Then the Cloudera on-premises, which is a traditional cluster-style deployment. So you would take the same Cloudera runtime, which is Cloudera 7.3.1, and deploy it in a cluster that's hosted on premises. Then the third form factor is Cloudera data services, which exist in the on-premises version and also the cloud version. And these are essentially the container-based deployments that are powered by Red Hat OpenShift. Now, what are these? At Cloudera, we have strong separation between data and compute, storage and compute. So Cloudera base is where your data lake is, essentially. And that layer is segregated from the data services, which is the compute layer. Base is where you're going to have the security and governance layer, which is obviously independent of the compute. You're going to have your file systems, object stores such as Ozone, and a bunch of services that are required to essentially manage the data lake. But for compute, of course, you can have some compute in base if you choose to operate that way. But then for compute, you have these data services on the right-hand side, which comes with its own management console. And you have CDE, CDW, and CML, so data engineering, data warehouse, and Cloudera AI, formerly known as Cloudera ML, where you can spin up compute clusters without impacting any of the storage or without impacting any of the data. And this allows us to auto-scale these data services as and when demand grows. All of that is, obviously I mentioned this, but all of this is powered by Red Hat OpenShift, which is why it's extremely critical for us to make sure we are compatible with the newer versions of Red Hat OpenShift. I should mention one more thing. In Cloudera on Cloud deployment model, we only support RHEL operating system. So we don't support any other operating system. If you're going with our Cloudera on Cloud offering, just know that in the back end, we are going to be spinning up VMs with RHEL operating system. which makes this partnership even more critical. Now, we talked about Cloudera as a base environment. We talked about data services, but then there is another way to access Cloudera's data in motion products. If you remember, is the first circle to the left-hand side in the data pipeline. These are independent operators. When I say independent of Cloudera base, that can be deployed within just a few minutes. Today you can literally go in Red Hat's Operator Hub and search for Cloudera Flow Management and search for Cloudera Streaming Operators, and then these 3 operators. I think third one is not live yet, but some of these operators will just show up in your Operator Hub. They are for only data in motion products so far. So NiFi, Kafka, and Flink. So if you're a self-supporter of any of these technologies, and you want enterprise level support from a company like Cloudera, this is a great way to actually get started with, by using these Kubernetes operators. All right. Next is the demo. Let me switch to a different screen and then quickly talk about how Cloudera interacts with the OCP control plane. Right. I hope everybody can see my screen. If not, give me a shout. But what you see here is the Cloudera base cluster. It's a 21 nodes cluster that we'll soon see in the OpenShift console. This is the control plane that I was talking about. It is deployed on premises in the OCP cluster. So you'll see data engineering, data warehouse, and machine learning data services deployed in this OCP cluster. So now let's look at these individual data services. As I said before, this cluster has about 21 nodes, which are obviously available under compute nodes. So you can see, if you have access to OpenShift console, you'll be able to see all the nodes that are supporting the Cloudera platform. This is Cloudera Data Engineering Data Service, which has, one functionality is you enable the data service in this platform, and then and then you spin up virtual clusters. So each virtual cluster in OpenShift is going to be a different namespace. Now, why is that done? Is just to segregate the workloads, to make sure there is workload isolation. Because if one is using virtual compute cluster for meeting XYZ SLAs, we do not want to impact those SLAs if there is problem in any other cluster. These are, they especially become important when you're dealing with production workloads that are sensitive in nature. Similar to data engineering, we have data warehouse data service as well, where we spin up a database catalog. This is essentially where all the data is, and then virtual warehouse compute clusters that are operating on the data that's stored in the database catalog. So as you can see, or as you did see, there were 4 compute clusters. And you will see all those 4 compute clusters as separate namespaces in OCP console. And of course, you'll see, a bunch of pods, containers, user applications that are deployed in the OCP console as well. Okay, now that this concept is similar for Cloudera AI as well. In Cloudera AI, we spin up machine learning workspaces or AI workspaces or AI workbench that are, of course, powered by OpenShift as well. And for each namespace or for each workspace, you will see a different namespace in OCP console. There are multiple ways to, of course, see the deployments, see the user applications, see the pods, and deployments interface within workloads is just another way to see all the user applications that are deployed within a particular namespace. And then if you want to check the pods, you can obviously go into a specific deployment, a specific user application, and then see what's running and what's causing problems. For you to get started, there is obviously documentation available on Cloudera Docs, in Cloudera Docs. And essentially, you would be looking at Cloudera Data Services on premises, version 154, which is our latest version. 155 is coming soon, later this year. But essentially, you would follow this documentation to know the prerequisites that are required to install Cloudera on OCP, along with the specific installation steps that you must go through to install this successfully. With that, I will hand it over to Ferris to talk about our success story with OCBC Bank.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Anshul. That was great. And thank you for the demo. Great demo. So, folks, I'm not going to keep you for very long. I just want to 2.5 minutes from your time. I wanted to talk to you about one of our great success stories. This is one of my favorite stories to talk about because it is really a true success story. This is a bank called OCBC Bank. For some of you, they may not have heard of it. It's the second largest financial services group in Southeast Asia. So it's a huge bank. It's always been rated top 50 as the world's safest banks by Global Finances. And it is truly one of the most highly rated banks in the world. I've been, when I was in Southeast Asia, I've been there many times, and you can see it everywhere, and it's a fantastic bank to work with. Now, they had challenges in their market, and they started using, or they started looking at these challenges about 5.5, 6 years ago, and there was pressure from their rivals to be more innovative because they're in Southeast Asia. There's a lot of innovation happening in the financial market. As you know, it's a hub over there, whether it's in Hong Kong or Singapore. There's a lot of financial institutions. There's a lot of pressure to become a market leader and have a lot of innovation, a lot of good customer service. And the market in general there was becoming increasingly digitized, so everybody is dependent on their mobile apps and the technology. And the consumer was obviously seeing all this competition, was looking for better experience every time that they work with a bank. So OCBC set out to have the ability to go and service their customers better in a digitized new fashion. They have the omni-channels to talk to their customers. So they wanted to leverage the data that they have about their customers to serve them better. So they turned to Cloudera and Red Hat, and they wanted to leverage the private cloud for their data platform. So they wanted to host it in their private cloud internally and deliver all this secure, controlled experience with the data to their consumer. But they also wanted to use AI and ML to really serve their customer better and give them one of the best experiences that they would have in the region. So they went in and they basically deployed a Cloudera data platform, and they used the CDP base to be the lake, the data lake. And then they used the CDP private cloud to do the compute with AI and ML and the data engineering and warehousing. They set it out, they built it, they had the help from Red Hat and Cloudera to build it. And to make the story short, they basically deployed it to serve their customers with the chatbots. And that was way before ChatGPT came along. They had their own bots that served their customers. They talked to their customers, learned about them, and they started suggesting new investments for them. That resulted in about $75 million or 100 million Singaporean dollars in return on investment for them in the first couple of years. And the conversion campaign from the campaigns that they did with the chatbots and the AI ML, they had twice as much conversion from a lead all the way to an opportunity to a sale. And 10% of actual business was handled by the chatbots externally that were deployed on CDP on Red Hat OpenShift. So that's a great, fantastic return on investment that they have done. And this is way before all the AI things that we see in the market for the past couple of years have done this. They've already were there, and they continue to invest in their digital experience for their customers. We have more information about the story that you can see it. Actually, we have it on Cloudera.com that talks a lot about more details about it. But before we leave off, I do want to leave you with a couple of references so you will have access to those slides afterwards, I'm sure. And then you'll be able to click on a couple of those. And one of them is that you see an overview of our partnership. And then we have written a couple of blogs. One of them talks about how to unlock the AI capabilities with Cloudera and running an OpenShift. And remember that story where Anshul told you about how Cloudera standardized on Rail for their public cloud offering. We have a blog that talks about all the details about this, and we hope that you click on it here. It's the third link. You will find more information about it. So with that, I thank you all very much for sticking around and listening to our webinar. I also want to thank Anshul and Patrick and Anurag for coming in and helping us with the webinar. We'd love to hear back from you. I think that we have a great opportunity, and we will reach out, or please feel free to reach out to us anytime that you'd like. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.